Ever had one of those days where you just want to scream, "Stop the world, I want to get off"?
Who hasn't?
Well, today on our deep dive, we're going to do exactly that, sort of. I'm going to
Okay.
look at what would happen if the Earth just suddenly stopped spinning.
Oh, wow.
And let me tell you, the research we've got here paints a pretty wild picture.
Wild's putting it mildly. It really makes you appreciate how much we rely on that constant spin.
I know, right? Like, first of all, just think about the speed we're talking about.
Yeah.
At the equator, we are hurtling through space at over 1,000 miles per hour because of Earth's rotation.
It's mind-boggling when you really stop to think about it.
And we don't even feel it. It's just remarkable. Why is that again?
It all comes down to inertia and constant velocity. Think of it like being on an airplane. When you're cruising at a steady speed, you don't really feel the hundreds of miles per hour you're traveling at, do you?
Right. It's all smooth sailing.
Exactly. But if the Earth were to suddenly slam on the brakes, yeah, that's a different story.
Oh, yeah. I don't even want to imagine that.
Inertia would kick in, and not in a good way. Everything on the surface, the oceans, the atmosphere, the ground itself would want to keep moving at that 1,000 mile per hour speed.
So, like, everything would just keep going, even though the Earth stopped.
Pretty much, it'd be absolute chaos.
Speaking of chaos, our research mentions some truly terrifying consequences, starting with, your classic earthquakes and tsunamis.
Oh, but we're not talking about your average everyday tremors and tidal waves here. This would be global scale devastation unlike anything we've ever seen.
Give me a sense of the scale we're talking about. What would that even look like?
Okay, picture this. You've got the equatorial bulge, that extra bit of girth around the Earth's middle. It's
Yeah.
caused by the centrifugal force of the Earth's rotation. Well, suddenly, that bulge wants to redistribute itself. And we're not just talking about a few fault lines acting up. We're talking the entire Earth's crust reacting to the sudden stop. Mountains would form, land masses would split apart, seismic activity on a scale that's hard to even fathom.
Yikes. So basically, every fault line on Earth just decides to erupt at once. But what about the oceans? What happens to all that water when the Earth suddenly stops?
Imagine the oceans as these massive, colossal, unstoppable forces of water still moving at 1,000 miles an hour,
Oh, and I.
slamming into the continents. Coastlines would be completely redrawn. We're talking planet-engulfing tsunamis, the kind of stuff that makes disaster movies look like child's play.
It's hard to even imagine. And on top of the earthquakes and the tsunamis, the research mentions something about the atmosphere becoming a weapon. What in the world does that mean?
It's wild, right? Imagine 1,000-mile-an-hour winds, but this wouldn't be like any hurricane we've ever seen. This would be the entire atmosphere itself scraping across the Earth's surface.
Whoa.
Dust storms of unimaginable scale, just obliterating everything in their path.
So everything would be either flattened by tsunamis or just blown away by the wind.
It wouldn't be pretty. And that's not even getting into what would happen to the Earth's climate. It would go absolutely haywire.
Yeah, the research mentioned that a day would basically become a year long, with one side of the planet constantly facing the sun, the other in perpetual darkness.
Exactly. So one side would be scorching hot, the other freezing cold. Talk about extreme weather.
Wow. I never even thought about that. What would happen to the growing seasons? Would we even have one with a year-long day?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's safe to say that it would completely upend the balance of ecosystems as we know them. The delicate cycles of day and night, which life on Earth has evolved around, would vanish.
It would be like hitting the reset button on evolution.
And a lot of species wouldn't survive that reset. Extinction would be inevitable.
This is getting pretty bleak. And then there's the gravity thing. The research mentioned that gravity would change if the Earth stopped spinning.
Mm.
I always thought gravity was a constant.
Well, gravity is definitely a force to be reckoned with, but it's not quite as simple as that. You see, the Earth's rotation actually plays a big role in its shape and how gravity works.
Wait, really?
Think about it like spinning pizza dough. As the dough spins, it flattens out, right? Well, the Earth's rotation has a similar effect. It creates that equatorial bulge we talked about earlier.
So if the Earth stopped spinning, would it become more spherical?
Exactly. And that change in shape would lead to a redistribution of gravity. It would get stronger at the poles and weaker at the equator.
Oh, wow. So oceans would shift, the planet would literally reshape itself, the moon's orbit could even be affected?
Now you're getting it. It's like a cosmic domino effect.
This is all pretty mind-boggling. But there was one thing that really stood out to me in the research, something that's kind of terrifying. It mentioned that without the Earth's rotation, our magnetic field could collapse.
And that would be the real nail in the coffin.
Right. because the magnetic field protects us from all that harmful radiation from the sun.
It's like our planet's own personal force field, deflecting all those nasty solar particles that would otherwise bombard us.
So without the magnetic field, it would be like a global sunburn, but like a million times worse.
Yeah. Even worse than that. It would be a constant bombardment of energy that would strip away our atmosphere, disrupt communications, and basically make life on Earth as we know it impossible.
Okay, I think we can all agree that it's a very good thing that the Earth is spinning.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the incredible balance of nature that we often take for granted.
Well, after this deep dive into planetary disaster, I gotta say I'm feeling a newfound appreciation for our little spinning planet.
Me too. It really highlights how all these seemingly separate systems are actually deeply interconnected.
It makes you wonder how everything got so perfectly balanced in the first place.
It's a question that's fascinated scientists and philosophers for centuries.
And it's a question we may never fully answer.
True, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep searching for answers.
On that note, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to ponder. If the Earth did suddenly stop spinning, even for just a split second, what would that feel like? What would be the first sign that something was terribly, terribly wrong? Something to think about.
I think I'll stick to imagining it. I don't want to actually experience that.
No, me neither. Until next time, folks, keep looking up and appreciating that beautiful spinning world of ours.
And maybe hold on just a little bit tighter.
Huh. Good advice.